Hello, welcome to my TSN Sandbox Showcase. I wanted to show off some of the features that we've got in the TSN Sandbox. It's been quite a while since I did this, so it's changed quite a bit. So first of all, we'll start up a server so you can see the server side. If I begin this as a server and select TSN Cosmos, TSN Command and Control Systems. On the server, it's very simple controls. There's a Game Master mode, a Firefly mode, and a Patrol mode. So these are just the three that you can select. In Firefly mode and Patrol mode, you also get the launch button at the bottom, so you can launch from the server. In Game Master mode, it's the Game Master who launches the server, so a client that connects and logs in as a Game Master. Game Master mode just allows you to select a system that you're in, allows you to decide which player ships are available for the players to use, gives you all the Game Master controls. Firefly mode automatically configures ships for the players to use. That's the only difference, really. You still get all the Game Master controls if you want. And Patrol mode sets up automatic missions that will generate in the sandbox. Currently, those are just raiders, so enemies will just spawn fairly random locations close to the player, and the player can just tackle those. So Patrol mode is kind of like a Game Masterless mode, although Game Master can still log in and manipulate things as well. Okay, so let's have a look at the client side. So this is somebody who's just connected as a client to the server. The server's currently in Game Master mode. As you can see, there's not much on the server itself. There's the top tab saying that I'm an officer. There's a datapad ID and a call sign. And there's the role of officer, so you know what role you're in. If you change to like a captain, the role changes to captain. If you change to Game Master, the role changes to CIC. On the right here, I can configure my call sign. So I'm going to configure my call sign as Xavier. Click confirm, and that just updates my call sign there. That means when other players see my client connection, they will be able to see my call sign as well. At the bottom, I've got an assignment tab. If I have that selected, it will show me ships that I can be assigned to. And on the right, there's a command tab. If I select that, it means I can log in as a captain or I can log in as a game master. So I'd enter an authorization code, click confirm, and it changed my client to be a game master or a captain. For now, I'm just going to have a look at assignments. And like I say, the server's in Game Master mode, so there's nothing activated. A Game Master would have to log in and activate it. I'm going to swap it over to the Patrol mode. And when I do that, you can see that I've got a list of TSN ships. These are all configured player ships that I can use. And I can select them as the player. So here I can select the TSN Falcon, which is a light cruiser. There's some description text for some ships. It's not description text for all ships yet. I'm still working on bulking that out. There's some statistics in the top right. There's a picture of the ship itself and its name. There's who's connected to it. So you can see here, I've got one connection to it. It shows my datapad ID, which is just the last 5 digits of my client ID, and my name. The Phoenix is a battle cruiser. So again, I've got some description of the battle cruiser. I've not put in the statistics yet, but I do have my connection here. I've got like the Defiant, so another ship which is the Destroyer. This you can see if I switch back to Falcon, you'll see I've got status, Helm, Tactical Engineering, Science Comms, Logistics, and Quartermaster. On the Phoenix, they're slightly different. So I've got Operations and Quartermaster. On the Defiant, we've only got 3 consoles and a status page. The Intrepid's also a destroyer, it's got the same. And then the TSN Lancer has got the same as a light cruiser. So the Lancer is the Nemesis class interceptor. Again, I've just got to write out statistics and description, but they're going to be added to the data. It's a 2-minute job, is that one? Once I've gone there, I can select the different consoles. So I'm going to select all of these consoles to show you each of them. Select ready. And then once I'm ready, it turns green. And if I'll connect another client so you can see what it looks like when I connect another client. And you see I've got another connection here with a different client. And when that one's taken consoles, I'll click ready and it shows what consoles that one's taken. So that will give you a crew readout. When there's more crew, it gives a scroll bar so you can scroll up and down there as well. And it just gives you an indication of who is on your ship and who is ready. But once everything's done, the game master or the server itself has a launch button, so I can click launch and it'll take me into that ships. So here we are. This is the Nemesis class. I'm still working on the exact positioning, but this is the status screen. And then at the top of my other screens, I'm going to have to change that slightly because they've dropped off. I've got too many consoles selected. So I've got status, I've got the helm, I've got tactical, engineering, science, comms, logistics, and then further on is quartermaster, but I'll come back to that. So on status, on each of these, I call these primary consoles. At the bottom, I call these sub consoles. So you can see the status has got 3 sub consoles on it. If I go to helm, that's got 3 different sub consoles on it, but you're still in the helm. And that's kind of how that works. The main page here is the status screen that shows you some of the vital stats. Grid overlay. You can actually select Damcon teams that appear on here and move them around as well. There's an energy readout, so how much energy the ship has got. A shield readout, forward and rear shields, and the percentage. And the hull integrity, so how much damage. That looks at how many possible damage there is and changes it into percentage for you. And then below are all the different ship systems and their operational efficiency, so you can see they're all operating at 100%. And they match up with these icons. So I've got a sensor array here. I've got 2 of them, so if one takes damage, the sensor array will drop to 50% operational efficiency. In the bottom, I've just got a 2D radar, just to keep a little bit of situational awareness. You can zoom in and out. On this display, you can zoom in and out as well, and you can select the bottom right to recenter it. The magnifying glasses up here still allow you to recenter and zoom in and out, and you can click and drag as well. So it's only a small display. Then up here, I've got the magazine status with the different torpedo types, so homing, nukes, EMPs, and mines. There are more torpedo types coming. I've already looked at how to code a P-shock, and I've already looked at how to code other types of mines. And in the next release of Cosmos, I can just expand that massively, which I'm looking forward to. Then crew status. All the different teams aboard. So you can see I've got Damcon teams, I've got medical teams, and I've got Marines, and you can see where they are as well. So these are just all in the crew quarters at the moment. And then cargo status is the cargo type and how many. And there's a scroll bar here because we've got quite a bit of cargo on board the ship. So you can see all of these different cargo types. These cargo types, these homings here, for example, are not in your magazine. They are spare homings that are sat in your cargo hold, and you can transfer them from your cargo hold into your magazine. So effectively, this ship's got 16 homing torpedoes there, plus an extra 9 in reserve. Same with EMPs, 5 EMPs in the magazine ready to fire, and 4 in reserve. The other things in here, like the comms relay, sensor relays, they can be deployed and will do things. So the sensor relays will give you sensor resolution, so you link in with them. Medical supplies be used for different missions, power relays, Denabite crystals, all these like commodities that can be used and combined to make things. Yeah, so I'll go through that later because you'll see in the AMC how that works, which is the automatic manufacturing computer, I think I called it. So that's the status screen. Main screen's here. So main screen is just your main screen view, just a 3D view. So you can have a look outside the ship. And then navigation. Navigation is a large 2D map, which you can scroll around. You can recenter. And then on the right here are navigation points. So if you wanted to go and give a navigation point to your helm, and you wanted to go to some food at Happy Eater, click that, and it gives a navigation point and a direction. So if I recenter and go here, it gives that blue navigation point. I also put in this in the top right hand corner so you could see what navigation point you've got active, what the distance is and what the heading is. And like if I want to go to the gate, I've got Delphinium Gate, the distance, the heading, the S82. So it just adds it to this. So you can just see what nav points you've got, and it'll remove them later as well. And those distances and headings will change depending on how you move. So if I get the ship moving a little bit, so they're like live distances and headings. So that is the status screen. The idea was that it was kind of used by the captain to keep track of what's going on with their ship, what's going on outside your ship, and being able to navigate and see what's going on in like the wider space. Here we go. Right, so the Helm screen, again, it's got 3 sub-consoles: maneuver, pilot, and jump control. This is the maneuver screen. The maneuver is your classic kind of 2D view. I'm going to actually get us going towards the Rose Gate. There's controls here for the different camera views. Your warp control and your impulse control. So you got impulse control here. You've got reverse, and then obviously you've got warp as well. So I'm going to put this at warp. This ship's got a slightly higher warp. It warps faster than the normal light cruiser. I think it's got like 50% faster. It is an interceptor. On the right, we've got an energy readout for the helm. We've got the shield status for the helm. And then the ship systems are just the vital systems that the helm need to know. So warp drive, impulse drive, and maneuver. You don't really need to know about weapon systems and things like that. The weapons officer can report that. There's the initiate dock. And then here is a like situational awareness radar. I think the idea was just to call it radar. So it allows you to pitch up and down. When you're in 2D view, I lock it to recentering on the plane, so it'll automatically, we can pitch up, but it'll automatically bring it back down to the plane. When you're in 3D view, which is in the pilot, then you can do the full 360-degree kind of turning and everything. So if I switch over to pilot, I've kept the same status stuff for the pilot. I've moved this control down here. I've given a 2D view in this top left corner just for a bit of situational awareness. If I go inside, it disappears the ship, which is nice. Warp control still on the left, but then you see we can actually fully pitch up and down using this 2D radar. So I'm clicking and dragging. So if I click at the center and drag down, I'll pitch down. If I drag up, I'll pitch up. Left, turn left. Right, turn right. Your heading is your angle here, so which direction you're facing. Your altitude is how far above or below the central plane you are, and your azimuth is the like your pitch up, pitch down angle. So like if my azimuth is 0, I'll travel at the same altitude in a straight line. If my azimuth is positive, I'll be going upwards. If my azimuth is negative, I'll be going downwards. So I'm going to go right down. So that will start bringing me back down towards the plane. You'll see this altitude dropping bit by bit. And then jump control. I was going towards this jump gate here. Okay, if I go to the jump gate here, where is it gone? I think it's just above us. Up we go, round we go. There is the gate. There we go. So this is a jump node. And the jump node is this thing here, and it allows you to jump to a different system. So I can go and I can initiate that link. It links in with the jump node, so it shows that loading. You have to be close to it to allow you to do this. Once it's linked, it's going to eventually give you a picture of the jump node. It gives you the different gates that you can move to. You can disconnect or you can activate the jump, and if you activate the jump, it will jump to the next system. So this is the Dene gate list, and I'm going to disconnect, and it will bring me out. So that's that. The jump does work, so as long as the system is built and it's linked, then it will jump to that system. That's all the Helm. Tactical. Tactical gives you that 2D view still. I've got Skyrim coming in on me. That's excellent. And I can zoom in and out. I can click and I can scroll. And I can run away from the Skyrims. Recenter that view. There we go. Okay. On tactical, we've got the shield status as normal. And then I've got system status, but this time you can see it's got ordnance loader, beam array, and shield emitter instead, because those are ones imperative to tactical. And then we've got the magazine status, shield toggle, so you can have shields on or off, beam frequency toggle to be able to configure to the beam frequency as reported by science, and then an auto manual toggle. In this one, you can increase or decrease your fire rate. A lower fire rate means a longer charge on your beams, which means a heavier hit. A higher fire rate means a shorter charge but faster firing, but the damage is less. And then aperture. A narrower aperture means you're more likely to hit a target point. A wider aperture causes more damage over a wider area, which is good for shields. So, like if a wide aperture hits shields, it should cause more damage. If a narrow aperture hits shields, it won't cause as much damage. If it hits a system, then it's got a higher chance of causing damage. And then below that, I've got a target priority list. So if I select that, you can see the only target that I can put is hull. When science scans a target, it will send additional target priorities to that list, and the weapons officer can open it up, and there'll be things like drone launchers or primary beams or maneuvering or impulse systems, so you can actually take out enemy systems. So that's that. In the bottom left corner, you would normally have torpedo tubes, which you can load and fire with different ordnance, and the ordnance available to a ship depends on that ship type. If I just I'm going to reload the script, and I'll take a Defiant. No, let's take a Phoenix. Tactical Engineering Science. These are pretty much the same consoles, which I can go through. So here we go. Here's tactical with the different types. So you can see I've got homing, nuke, EMP, mines, and a P-Shock on the ship. And you can see here I've got P-Shock in my magazine status as well. Different ships have different things. So like the Destroyer only has homings and EMPs. Other ships may only have like nukes or something like that. Depends how they're configured. You can load obviously those torpedoes, and you can fire those torpedoes as normal. Then another subconsole on tactical is the weapon systems. So I've got a safety here. The safety is on. So if you target a ship that's on the same side as you, it automatically untargets it. So you can't accidentally shoot a player ship or a friendly NPC ship. You can switch that off if you need to attack a player ship or friendly NPC ship for some reason. You can take it off. Say if the friendly NPC ship's been taken over by pirates and has been stolen, but is still showing as friendly, then you'd have to remove the safety. You got your system status just as an extra readout. I've put an auto target in. With that on, any ships that are close by will be automatically targeted by the primary beams, so it'll just automatically lock onto it. With it off, you have to click on the ship to target it. And then below here, I've got the magazine, so you can see the different torpedoes that are available in the magazine and in my cargo bay here. And I can take torpedoes out of the magazine into the cargo bay, and I can do all of them. So if I do that, you can see I've got 3 P-Shocks now, or I can put them back in so I can transfer them from the cargo bay into the magazine. Go back and forth like that. So that is the weapons console. Next up, engineering. Here's my engineering console. So engineering has got my energy readout. It's got my 2D grid of my ship, and it has my system status. So we've got all the vital stats on the right hand side: hull integrity, shield status, and system status. You can see this is all at 100%. With damage, these drop down. They change color at a certain level of damage. They go red or they go grey if they're completely offline. Bottom here is just a list of all those active items on my list, on my grid, and I can filter them out so I can just see where my weapon systems are, on my engine systems, on my shield systems, on my sensor systems. So I can filter those out, or I can have them all on, which I very much prefer. Bottom right, I can recenter again. And if I activate somebody in the crew, just go to crew and activate a team. When I've got an active team here, they go into the filters as well. So if I just want to see where my teams are, I can filter everything out and just see my team. And I can select my team, and on the left, I get the data about that team. So who the team leader is and the health status. So I've got 8 members in this team. None of them are lightly wounded. None of them are seriously wounded. None of them are dead. If I had some that were lightly wounded, it would impact how effective that team is. If I have some who are seriously wounded, it has a big impact. If I have some that are killed, it has a different impact as well. So it might slow the repair speed down because they're having to cart around team members that are either seriously wounded or dead. So ideally, you don't want Damcon teams walking around with seriously wounded or killed members because it's going to slow them down. Underneath, I've got an orders list. So these guys are currently set to manual repair. I can set them to auto repair. So in that case, they're going to go and they're going to respond to any damage that they see. So if a damage node pops up here, for example, then they'd move automatically and go and repair it. I can click to move them manually if I want. So I can reposition them in the ship. So like I could have one team down here. And then if I activate another team, I can have another team and move them across here. So I've got these 2 different teams that are moving about. If I'm finding it hard to select them, I can also select them here and it will swap over and I'll select. I can have one on manual repair and one on auto repair. So this guy could be auto repairing, this guy could be manual repairing, and they just move. This guy would only move if I order him to. These guys would just carry on. Then I've got these different report to commands. So these are different areas on the ship which show up for the operations officer when they're looking at crew. So if I've got injured people, I can send them to the medical bay and they'll disappear. If I've got, say, just a team that I want to send back or that I need to board onto a shuttle, I can send it to the shuttle bay or I can just send them back to crew quarters. So that's the damage repair one in ship systems. In main engineering, this is where you get your power sliders and your heat. So obviously you can put more power into beams and slide these backwards and forwards. This is also where the presets will work, and I'll look at that in a second. You've still got your system status, shield status, energy, and hull integrity. There's a little 2D map in the bottom right for that situational awareness. This grey box here, I'll show in a second. This is where you can put in some presets in a list, and then you've got obviously your heat management pools down here and your power sliders at the top. You just click and scroll the power sliders and you can click the heat dots to allocate coolant, then click the bottom box to remove it. And then ship systems management here, this is where you can create presets, where you can bring online different ship systems, where the fuel collection is, and where the cargo scoop is. I'll talk through those in a second. Let's have a look at this preset management. So here is my preset manager. You can see I've got no presets set. What I can do is I could type a preset name and create a new preset. And I get this here. So the red cross will delete it. The name's up here. Unassigned is the hotkey. So this is no hotkey assigned. And then this little button here is whether it appears on this preset menu or not. So if I select that button there, it appears on this preset menu. If I deselect that button, and it no longer appears on that. It means you can have presets in here that aren't assigned to a hotkey and still be able to use them quickly, but they might be things like silent running, or you can have presets that don't clutter up the list that do have a hotkey. For example, if you've got like one for beams and one for maneuvering and one for high shields, you could have those as hotkeys but not have them in this preset list, so you don't have to scroll through them. So this is my preset. I've created a new preset. All these sliders here match with the main engineering sliders here. So I can change, say I want this to be beam combat, so I'm going to have beams high, I'm going to have impulse high, I'm going to have forward shields high, and I'm going to have a bit of, let's bring impulse down a bit, bring maneuver up, and then I'm going to have 4 coolant dots in weapons, 3 coolant dots in engines, and 1 in shields. If I want to reset back to 0, I can click reset and it'll bring it back down to 100%. Same with these, I can go back to 0, so I can reset those. And then the hotkeys, I can have all these hotkeys. So I'll put in all the letters, the numpads, and your top row keys. So I want this to be beam, so I'm going to have it as key 1. I'm going to save it, and that's my beam. So if I go back to engineering, there we go. So that's key 1, space, reset, key 1, space, reset. R, I can click. Okay, so that's that one. And obviously then I can go, no, I don't want that, so I'm going to delete it. It disappears from here as well. So that's that. Let's see, I've got these different systems that I can switch on and off. So for example, my tactical array, I can switch the tactical array off, and if I go to tactical, you'll see torpedoes, beams, and shields have all gone offline. If I go back into engineering and switch my tactical array on, I get all my torpedoes, my shields back on, and my beams are back. So I can switch things on and off like that. If I select there, and then this green icon, if I select there, it actually removes it completely and puts it in my cargo hold. So I can remove the tactical array completely. If I select there, it takes it out of my cargo hold, and then I can click here and it reinstalls it. The way that is supposed to work is so that if you take damage to your ship and you lose your tactical array, you can get a new tactical array into your cargo hold. You can reinstall it and you can reactivate that tactical array. Or if you come across like a derelict ship and it needs a new tactical array installing, you can take one from your cargo hold, you can slot it into that derelict ship by transferring it over via a shuttle or something and reactivate it. AMC is the manufacturing stuff on the ship, so to be able to create new components. Life support, with that offline, anybody on this grid will move a lot slower because obviously there's no life support, so there's no gravity or anything like that, so they're having to take more care. Navigational array takes your impulse systems offline, so your helm can't maneuver anymore. Tactical array takes your weapon systems offline. Computer core takes everything offline. To reactivate, you've got to have a computer core installed, otherwise the rest of the things will not be active. So I've got to have a computer core in first, and then I can activate everything else. If I take my computer core out, everything goes offline. So that's like the central part of it all. FCS. This is the FCS system here. If I select that, it starts activating the FCS. When FCS is active, it takes the tactical systems offline. So it takes the beams offline and it takes the torpedoes offline. And it takes a few seconds to get going. Then you've got 2 sliders of the ionization threshold and particle influx regulator. If you're inside a nebula, changing these sliders to match the threshold and the influx regulation to the nebula readout in science will increase that efficiency, and that efficiency can get up to 150%. So it just means that you get more energy recharge when that efficiency is higher. In space, it's just 83%. Inside a nebula, it can be up to 150. And then to bring the AFCS offline, you've got to toggle it off. It'll deactivate. Until it's deactivated, the systems won't come back on. So now it's fully deactivated, these systems come back on. So that's that. I'm going to grab a helm for the scoop. Grab those consoles. So for the scoop, this allows you to pick up things from around the ship. So I'll also get a game master. If I go to helm, you can see when the cargo scoop's off, there's no additional buttons here. If I activate the cargo scoop, there's this capture cargo button here. And then if I use my game master to drop down some cargo, that's these 2 green dots here, and I move my helm up towards them, the helm can actually capture this cargo with that scoop deployed. So if I go capture cargo, gotta be close enough. There we go, captured that one. And now I'm going to come around and capture this other one. So the distance matters. If you look, if I'm pressing capture cargo, it's not going to pick them up. But if I move a bit closer and go capture cargo, it picks it up, and then that puts it in my cargo hold, and then I can bring my scoop offline once I'm finished. So that's all the engineering console. Let's take a look now. Science console. Here we go. So this is science. You've got 2 sub-consoles, active sensors and long-range sensors. I'm going to drop in an enemy ship so you can see the active sensors at work. Get him to hold position. So, science, active sensors, I can select a target. And you can see I can get the range and bearing, but until he's scanned, I don't know what he is. I can scan him, and then I can see his designation. I can see his class. I can see his design, so this is Krellian. I can see his range, his bearing from the ship, so he's at 003. IFF error, if I have a ship on my side. Let's create this one. Old. And I select him, you can see still need to scan him. IFF is valid. So like enemy ship, error, friendly ship, valid. And you can see like the data at the top has changed as well. Shield readout and hull integrity. I want to make these live, but they're not currently live, so they refresh every so often, but not completely. And then the shield frequencies of the ships is displayed as well. Then what I can do is I can scan the targeting. So if I select that, I can see identify target points. I've got impulse shields and beams. And then this is where it comes in for manual targeting or tactical. So if I go to tactical and select that enemy and then go into manual, you can see I've got beams, shields, and impulse. I can target those particular systems. So if I target the beams, drop my aperture, drop my fire rate, I'm going to be able to destroy it. It means I need to make sure it's targeted. As soon as I untarget, it resets, by the way. So I've got to make sure it's targeted. It remembers what I've targeted. I think it can store 10 targets, and then if you cycle through more than 10 targets, it starts replacing those bits of data. So that's the active sensors, and the LRS sensors is a long-range sensor scan. So there's 2 types of scans at the moment. I'm going to create something a little bit further out so you can see how this appears. So there are some targets further out in this area that I can't see because it's beyond my sensor range. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the long range sensors, and I'm going to scan ships. So if I select that, I can configure the range. The longer the range, the longer it takes to scan. The shorter the range, the quicker it is to scan. So I'll go for 96K. I'll activate the scan. You can see it's going to complete in 19 seconds. If I went up to 100 or 200, it will complete in a longer time. So I'll add that in so you can see. This is a little progress bar, just showing how far the scan is. And then I give the scan complete, 2 data points identified, and then these are the data points. If I increase that and activate the scan, you can see it takes longer to scan at a longer range. Here's the target points in this data list, and then this analysis is to display that. The red here will delete the data, and the green will add or remove a nav point. So if I go here and I zoom out, we should see where that nav point is. I get it on tactical. There we go. There's the nav point for tactical to show where it is. So like it will appear on the status screen. It'll also appear on the Helm screen, so you can say, oh, we need that emissions 9851. All right, that's the one that we're aiming for. So I want to see what that is. I can select it, and it gives me a readout of that. So it gives me a distance to it, a heading to it. It gives me what it is. So this is charged trillion phase distortions. It gives a bit of information, and then it tells me that it's a Torgoth signature. So I'm expecting up here for there to be a Torgoth fleet in this kind of area. If I go to this one's the actual Krelian here, Papa 83. And it's the bioelectric phase pulse, and it says consistent with known Krelian transmissions. This one, if I try and activate the nav point, it automatically deletes it because I'm so close to it. So there's no point having it up. So you can see it switches it on and off straight away. Whereas this one, I can activate or deactivate it, and it'll tell me where it is and the heading. And then obviously I can also delete these. So I was like, well, this one, I know what it is, so I'm just going to delete it. Whereas this one, I don't know what it is. I'm going to keep that one. Same with the station scan, but it specifically looks for stations. If I activate a scan there, then it will look just for stations themselves. It doesn't include allied stations, so stations that are on the same side as you, because you just get loads and loads of extra scan points in a friendly system when you're wanting to look specifically maybe for like a pirate station that's hidden somewhere. So I don't think this is actually going to return any stations, but we'll see. So yeah, that's the 2 consoles for science, active sensors and LRS sensors. Next up, once this scan has finished, we'll look at the operations and then Quartermaster, which is the new kind of shuttle bay. There we go. LRS scan complete. There's no data points there because there's no hostile stations in the area or unknown stations in the area. Right, let's go to ops. So operations is a kind of role that has a few different functions. To dock at a base, you need this dock access code. So you need to speak to a base, you need to get their dock access code and update that. On the left is a communications panel. So you can get, this will just give you like overall communications that are coming through. So in patrol mode, you see like urgent messages coming through, or if there's ships doing their own thing and they're sending out messages, you'll see that there. And then here, this is same as nav point data. So this is only displayed as long as you've got nothing selected. So as soon as you select something to talk to, like if I want to talk to Papa 79, the nav point data disappears, and then I get Papa 79, and I can hail, and I can request the route. So it gives me a flight plan if it's got one, which it does. It doesn't have one. I can request its manifest, so it'll tell me what it's transporting. So these are just randomly generated at the moment. So they've got lots of pets on board. This is definitely a ship overrun by cats. Okay. And then you can also see like it includes those messages here. And if I deselect that, you can see my communications now. This is just my general communications. I can select it and go back into it. Papa 83 is an enemy ship. So if I hail that, I can demand it surrender, or I can demand it retreats. Again, Those are the things I can do. There's an analyze signal and uplink. Those are still being worked on, but the idea is that you'll be able to analyze like their comms signal, and then you'll be able to uplink to be able to manipulate that. So, for example, you might be able to uplink to a jump point after analyzing its like security signature so that you can reactivate or deactivate a jump point. On an enemy ship, the idea is that you can hack into its systems and you can knock out one of its systems. So like you could hack in and you could override its impulse system and bring them to an all stop, or you could override its beam systems, or you could spoof a surrender command from its commander and it'll cause it to surrender, and things like that. So it's a way round for comms. Um, the same with allied ships though. So you could analyze signal, or you could uplink, and that's going to be the uplink will be for things like sending orders to that ship to be able to direct it. Those are just being worked on at the moment, but those are the plans for that future. Um, these are just nav points that I can put up. So I can, again, navigate from comms as well. And then if I select a base, I can talk to a base, I can hail them, and I can request information. So this is the information from this base. They've got active docking tethers. They can supply with power, but they can't provide any additional support repairing shields. This is their dock access code. So if I wanted to dock up with them, I'd need that dock access code entered. I need my shields down and I'd need to be in range, and then I'll be able to dock. And this is the facilities that they've got. So they've got docking and refueling. I can request a manifest. So what they've got in the cargo hold. So I can see they've got plenty of medical supplies, plenty of containers. They've got a life support unit, and all these different bits and pieces. So if I needed to pick up some medical supplies and take them to a ship, I'd be able to get them from here. There's plenty of them there. Select another station. Request their manifest. They have no information and they've got no docking tethers, so I can't stop there. I can request information here. They have got a different dock access code. So if I go here, the Happy Eater, and I look at their dock access code, then it's a different one to if I go to here and their dock access code is different as well. They'll again, an iSignal and update and uplink will have different functions for bases. They've just not been created yet. And then if I go back to this, you can see this main comms. These are all the last messages that were sent to all these different ships in the area or stations in the area, and I can select and it'll take me straight to that message. Like if I go here, it'll take me straight to that message and it'll select it on my screen as well. So that's comms so far. There's going to be like the hold and click that I use to be able to like send ships to a certain place. I've just not gotten to coding that because that's a new feature for this version. Right. What else can ops do? Here we go. Crew. So operations, I said earlier in engineering about sending crew to different areas of the ship. These are those areas of the ship. So you've got crew quarters with everybody in the crew quarters there. I've got these guys in the medical bay, these guys in the shuttle bay. Guest quarters and brig are empty. So for example, maybe I've got somebody in the brig that I want looking after. I'm going to send a marine team. I'm going to send them across to the brig. When they move across, they turn grey. It means that they can't be selected. When they turn yellow again, or blue or whatever colour that icon is meant to be, for Marines it's this yellow colour, then it means that I can select them and I can move them again. Say if I want these guys in the shuttle bay, I can move them again wherever I want. There's also this split team, so I can split the team into 2 teams of 4. I can split the team again into teams of 2, and then I can merge teams. So I want to merge them, so I create a team of 5 and I'll create a team of 3 here. So I've got 2 different teams. So that's those guys, and then I select him. I can move him to the med bay. Again, it's going to take time to move. I can move these guys to the brig like that. Takes time for them to move. As soon as they're ready again, I can move them again. The AMC, so this is manufacturing. On my right here, I've got the library. On my left here, I've got the cargo hold. So this is everything in the ship's cargo at the moment. In the middle is the actual AMC itself. This is a display of what will be output, and this is a display of what's currently processing. So at the moment, AMCs will allow you to process 3 things. The library is what you can create. So for example, if I select homing, the components for a homing are a warhead, torpedo casing, and guidance system. So if I have that in my cargo hold, I can combine them together to make a homing torpedo. I've also got, say, let's see, a comms relay. I need a transmitter, I need casing, and I need a receiver. So I don't have those 3 things at the moment, but we'll look at that in a second. And then I've got core components here as well. So all these ones from power relay to sensor relay are things that you can create. And you can see I've got like a power relay, I've got the components that will make it, and I tell you also what it can be used for. So a power relay is used for creating an EMP, used in an aid package, it's used in a sensor relay. If I go to core components, then any core components that I need to build for another ship, so I come across a derelict and it needs a new core computer, I can create a core computer and it will construct a core computer. I can only have one of those in my cargo hold at a time, so I've got to be mindful of that. If I create one of everything, then it just means that my cargo hold is full. I can't create another core computer. Let's see, so that's useful for replacing those. Let's have a look at this. So if I go to homing, now in the AMC you can either take apart things or you can put things together. If you put the right recipe in the AMC, it will tell you what it puts together. If you put in a single item, say a sensor relay, then it'll tell you what it'll take apart. So if I put a sensor relay in there, I'll get a power relay, a casing, and a transmitter, and I can deconstruct it. If I add a comms relay, it won't output anything because I've got 2 things in there. If I do just a comms relay, I get transmitter, casing, and receiver. If I do a homing torpedo, you can see I've got warhead, casing, and guidance systems. A nuke, a high yield warhead, casing, and guidance system. So I can take these apart. I'm going to take this nuke apart, and then I'll show you how I can put it back together as well. So if I deconstruct that, it goes green. I'll deconstruct something else as well. I'll deconstruct that. Sorry, it goes red, and you can see that it's telling me what's being deconstructed. I can do that one, and you see I can only do 3 things, and I've got to wait for them to finish processing before I can add more in. Once these have finished, all those components will go into my cargo hold. I'll see them appear. There's my core computer. There's my high yield warhead, my torpedo casing, my guidance systems. Okay. And you can see them like stacking up there. There we go. So, for example, if I wanted to put together a homing torpedo, I'm going to take that out. I need a warhead, a torpedo casing, and a guidance system. If we go torpedo casing, guidance system. So if I just put that in, you can see I can deconstruct that and get more core components. Or I can go warhead and a guidance system, and I can create a homing torpedo. Create a casing, deconstruct it, and get the core things from that. Torpedo casing, guidance system, high yield warhead, create that. So you can take things apart, put things back together, and it'll go in and out of your cargo hold. So this is going to add a homing torpedo to the stack. So it's going to do that. There we go. There's an extra homing torpedo. It's flicked up to 9, and my nuke will flick back up to 8. And there we go. Okay. So that is the AMC, and that's working like that. Final bit is the Quartermaster. class of ship that we're currently in is quite a big class of ship. I think it's the battle cruiser. So it's got quite a lot of capabilities compared to some other ships. You can see it's got 4 different types of shuttle, 3 rangers, and 1 cargo shuttle. There is an update coming which will display these a little bit better. Because if you look, if I open that, the shuttle is a tiny little shuttle there, and that there's an update coming that will hopefully make that a better size. When you select a shuttle, you can see this is a ship's cargo itself. So, for example, I could take a P-Shock, load it into the shuttle's cargo bay. I could take some Therian plating, load it into the cargo bay. I can unload it as well. So just by clicking on it, it loads and unloads, loads and unloads. So I can transfer, say, if I wanted to transfer 2 homing torpedoes to another ship, I'll be able to do that. Here are the personnel. So I want to take this Damcon team, load them up into personnel. If I want to be on the Glorious instead, you can see I can swap to different ships, and then a cargo shuttle has a bigger cargo bay. So different shuttles have different types, but the cargo shuttle cannot carry any shuttle personnel. There's a transport shuttle which will carry personnel. There's like a general shuttle. There's a fighter which doesn't carry any cargo or personnel, and things like that. So that's that. If I don't want to be on the shuttle, I can unassign myself, and I can reselect it so somebody else can select it. When I've selected it, somebody else won't be able to select it. Only 1 person per shuttle. And then I've got the deploy button here, and it takes me into the shuttle, and I'll go over that at a different time, and then I can dock, and it redocks me, and I'm back in here. Controls. If there's going to be more added to this eventually, but if there's a shuttle that doesn't have a pilot, maybe the player's disconnected by accident, you can fly close to it, you can click recover shuttle, and it'll draw it back into the shuttle bay, so it'll pick it up. And then the logistics console, when you're docked with a station, which I'm going to have to do to show this working fully, you can transfer things backwards and forwards using the logistics console. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dock with a happy eater station. Here we go. A helm. I need a quartermaster. I need an ops. So helm. Take us towards happy eater. Shields are offline. That's good. I'm within range. I can do that on my pilot console as well. So I'm here. Operations, where are we? Happy eater, information request. I need to enter my dock access code 19415. Confirm there. I need to initiate the dock. There we go. Draws me in. Now on Quartermaster and the logistics, you can see I've got my ship's cargo bay and I've got my target cargo bay. If I undock, it just shows me my ship's cargo bay and my ship's personnel. There's no target because I'm not docked to anywhere. Dock again. There we go. Okay, so this is all the cargo aboard the station. If you remember on my manifest request, see I've got 16 repair materials. So here, if I scroll up, there's the 16 repair materials. So I could transfer things across from the base. So like I've got 5 medical supplies. I'm going to increase my number of medical supplies. I think they've got 1 life support unit. They don't have any ordnance. They're a civilian station, so they're not going to supply me with ordnance. There is a cap on this, though. You cannot have more ordnance than you have in your that matches your magazine. So if your magazine size is 15, you can only have 15 spare homing torpedoes in your cargo bay. Personnel. I can send personnel to the station, or I can take personnel off the station. So I can pick up these diplomats here. Yeah, and that's how the logistics console works. I can undock by releasing dock, and then I can go to impulse. When you docked, the warp and the impulse is disabled. That's a game engine thing I've learned recently. We'll go back to Quartermaster. Here we go. I think the last bit is the shuttle. So I'm going to go back to the shuttle bay. I'm going to take the glorious. I'm going to... Oh, was it the wisdom? Yeah, there we go. I'll take the wisdom. And I will deploy. So this is the shuttle. In the top right, I've given a little readout. This you can't interact with this. It's just like a status readout with personnel, cargo, and a staging. Bottom left is your boost, your thrust, your shoot, your torpedo, and your dock. Top left is what you're currently targeting. There's a little 2D display I'm going to turn so you can see it better. Here we go. There's a little 2D display just for a bit of situational awareness. There's also a capture. Here it's the same function as a cargo scoop on a ship. So if you've got space in your cargo hold, you can fly up and you can capture an object. You've got your little radar here. Again, same as a ship. Click in the middle, drag up, down, left and right. You can thrust. This shows how fast you're going with thrust. You can boost, go faster. Then you can also move. And as long as the Game Master has configured the station to allow you to dock, you can move and you can dock at a station. So you can see I'm at Happy to Shuttle Bay. This is the available shuttles. There's only my shuttle. This is the available cargo, so I can drop off cargo and I can pick up cargo. So yeah, that's that. I can deploy again. Personnel, I've got cargo. And then that's that. If I move away, I can go to my cargo hold. I can have staging area. So if I go to like the homing torpedo in the staging area, go back to my main, I can jettison that off. And if you watch this 2D display here in the top left, when I jettison that cargo, it actually pops that cargo out the back. So I could deploy that cargo for another ship. That other ship could pick it up with its cargo scoop. I could deploy a sensor relay doing that. And then that sensor relay will become active. I could drop off personnel in a pod doing that as well. And then that pod could be picked up by a ship or a player ship. I could also go, so I've deployed that. I'm going to go, move closer to it, and I can capture that as well. I can pick it back up and it'll drop it in my cargo hold. So I can do that. If I go back to my ship, grab personnel. Where's my ship? There it is. Dock. I'm going to grab... Oh, so I need to go into ops. I need to go into crew. I'm going to send a marine team across the shuttle bay. Okay. So if I go to Quartermaster, I can pick up that marine team. And then I can deploy my shuttle. Now, what I can do is I can get that marine team to board that base without actually docking with it. So if I go here and I put that marine team in my staging area, then what I can do is I can go across to that base. See this go, no go? I get close, give them the green light to jump, and they jump, and they will now be deployed on that base. So if I dock up with that base again, make sure it's active, let me dock. They will be on that base. So here they are. There's my marine team on that base. If I restart the server. So we looked at the Phoenix there. The Intrepid, these ones, if I just select these, ready and launch. You got the same status screen, but because it's a destroyer, I've created this. So you've got maneuvering, pilot screen, and damage control, so that you can actually effect damage control. This one is your weapon systems, your navcon, which is navigation and communications, and your logistics. And then your scope is your sensors, power control, crew management, and system management. You'll notice this one hasn't got an AMC. It's a smaller ship. It's not supposed to have an AMC, so I've removed it from this one. Other ships, like I think the Interceptor class, I've kept the AMC in because it's a bit of a bigger ship, and it just adds a bit more variety to the different ship types. That's everything. Thank you very much for watching. If you liked this, please subscribe. I'll put out a video at some point on the Game Master side of things as well and how that works. Thanks very much for watching.